Any others?
Jalen.
So, have you ever had any like awkward moment? Like if you people
every
thought
day of
you,
my life
is
right? Awkward.
Yeah, the first time ever I was teaching at BYU Education Week, I was walking up, I was all excited, and there was these two volunteer ladies, and they're sitting there at the desk, and they had their back to me as I was walking up, and they're looking down. As I got closer, they said, "Okay, who's our next presenter?" "Oh, it's this Corey Andrews person." And then they look at each other and say, "Is that a boy or a girl?" And I'm coming up behind them, right? And I hear this like conversation about my gender. They're like, "Well, it's spelled with a K and it ends with an I, so it must be a girl." And at that moment I get there, right? And I'm like, hi. And they both turn around, look at my face, look down at my name badge that I was wearing in the back of my face, and together in unison, they're like, "It's a boy!" And I'm like, congratulations! It's like my birthday. And so there's been a lot of awkward moments. Can I tell you real quick, like why I have the name that I have? Actually, let me tell you one more. Oh no. Okay, we gotta get to Al. So the reason I went to my parents one day, I'm like, why? Like Corey with an I, like it's the girly way. Like, did you not want me to have friends? So I go to them and I'm like, we need to talk. And they were all excited. You know how parents get excited when you come up and ask them a question, and they got all excited. They're like, he's talking to us. And so I was like, why did you name me this? And they're like, oh, we've been waiting for you to ask. And I'm like, you guys are weird. And they said, it's scriptural. And I'm like, stop. No, it's not. And they're like, yeah, it's in the scriptures.
Coriantimer?
So I thought that was the first one.
With a K.
And then I was like looking through. I was like, where am I? Like, I got to be in here. Corey, but that's a C, right? And so I was like, no, that's not it. Keep looking. I keep looking, and I'm like, where? I better be Moroni's best friend.
Are you serious?
The only name in the Book of Mormon spelled with a K-O-R-I is in the name Korihor. And so I go back to my parents and I'm like, we need to talk again. This is not cool. Korihor, the Antichrist? And they're like, no, we meant the other one. I'm like, Coriantimer, it's spelled with a C, and he basically destroyed a whole civilization. So he's not good either. And they're like, no, the other one. Corianton, bad too. So that's my name. I'm stuck with it. I'll tell you one more. Can I tell him one more?
Do you do whatever you want to do?
Okay, and then I'll introduce Al. Okay. No, I'm gonna say that one for tomorrow. It's time for Al.
You won't remember.
No, you gotta get back to
If you don't do it
No,
now,
I'll remember. Remind me.
We're on topic. Just go for
Holy
it.
cow.
No, tell me. Remind me.
The Holy Cow fence.
Text me. Oh yeah, I'll do the holy cow after Al. Holy cow after Al. But text me Niagara Falls Hank Smith, and I'll remember. Okay.
I love that guy.
All right. So, guys, this is Al Carraway. This is so awesome.
Some 50-year-old dude.
What? Can we clap in the Sacred Grove? I don't know.
Technically, this is not the Sacred Grove.
Yeah. I think we can clap. All right, give it up for Al Carraway.
My bum feels wet. I feel you. I sat on your book to protect my butt.
That you wrote the forward for.
Yes. And how I feel about your forward that I wrote? Well, I sat on it. Hey, how are you? I know you guys felt the spirit today. I'm here to ruin it all. It's all gonna be gone. So I'm actually from here. I was born and raised here in New York, about a half hour away. We're about as far north as you can go, right on the water. And then when I was 20, I moved to, Utah. And I stayed there between Utah and Arizona, but mostly Utah. We move a lot. We just move a lot. In the West Coast, and we just barely moved back. September? Anyways, cool, great. I write books. I got kids. I'm like not funny at all. I try to be funny, I'm like not funny. But so you're starting here, right? This is essentially you're just getting started though before you go to other sites, or are you ending? Middle?
Middle.
What other church site did you see? Priesthood Restoration? Yeah. Okay. Way to go in order, you guys. So here is actually, it's actually been a few years since I even talked about me finding out the church, but I feel like I got a little bit, because it happened literally right here. You were asking where I had my very first prayer to ever exist. It was in the Sacred Grove, and it was actually right in that big pathway. And I was 20 years old here in New York, and I already graduated college. I was living completely by myself, and at the age of 20, I am the stubborn New Yorker. I do not need help from anyone or anything. There's a bug in my face. And the way that I saw religion was, it was something people turned to when something was going wrong in their life, as some sort of, I don't know, mental comfort or whatever. It's just there to make you feel good in your brain. That's just what it is. And so when I met the missionaries, I was outside, I was helping someone move, and they'd come around on bikes, coming around the corner. I've never heard of missionaries in my life. Where I'm from, when you hear people knocking on your door, you think of Jehovah's Witnesses, but I've never met a member in my life, even though I live here. Anyways, so they come around the corner, they come up to me and they said, "Hey, do you want to know more about Christ?" And I said, no, thanks though, I like your helmet. But the person I was helping move, he was so mean to them, and I felt so bad that I said, "If you bring me a steak to eat, I'll listen." And I thought, who would do that? And so surely that'll get rid of them, right? No, they came back that day with a steak to eat. And so at that point, I felt obligated to listen to whatever they had to say, because I felt bad, and it's a steak. So now I wanted to prove to them, at the age of 20, I thought this is as good as life was going to get. I loved what I was doing. I loved who I was. And I wanted to prove to them, like, everything you believe in, your entire existence and everything you know, it's just like, you don't need that. It's all in your head. It's just there because it sounds nice, but you don't have to do anything. You do whatever you want. And so I am out to prove the missionaries wrong, and my whole thing is that I want to ruin their lives. I am going to ruin their lives by showing that everything you believe in is not true. So, in my brain, the only way that I could do that was to live exactly how they were teaching me, the best that I could, and to live it long enough to allow contrast to happen if it were to happen, and then go back to them and be like, "See, told ya, this is my quest. Ruin the missionaries' lives." And then joke's on me, because, any bit of effort, I am doing the worst God has ever seen kind of efforts. I have never prayed before in my life until I, came here. Which you may think is cool to start your journey here in the Sacred Grove, but when you don't know what the Sacred Grove is, it's like, why did I drive a half hour to stand in the middle of the woods? Well, stupid. Anyways, here's where I said my first prayer. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyways, worst God have ever seen kind of efforts. But any bit of effort, I found out, you receive. Any step forward, regardless of what we think that effort looks like, we receive. So, joke's on me, because here I am, and I got baptized. Which, it's a lot. I mean, you have to, not just what I did had to be different, but even the way that I thought had to be reconstructed. It is 21 years of habit and tradition and culture, like, deep within my entire being, and I had to rewire even the way that I had to think. It was different. Everything that I was shown and have experienced has to be different now. And there was a lot I did not know. Most I did not know. But I knew that what I felt was enough. So I got baptized, cool, great. I'm not giving you a full conversion story, but I am going to paint the picture that right out of the gate, my life falls apart. It wasn't until baptism that I had never felt, until then, extreme anguish and painful sacrifice. Right out of the gate, I have never known such a loss. Indescribable, that it was just unwanted, unexpected, uncharted, going from bad to worse to even worse. Do you know Joseph? Our boy Joseph in the Old Testament. Old Testament Joseph. He's got a cool coat, which is great for him. But he was told that he just had visions of being a leader. He had parents who favored him, and he had a cool coat. You know, life for him was like really good. Until it wasn't. It wasn't until, you know, his whole family just abandoned him in a hole, plotting to murder him. Well, so what about these great blessings he was told about? Where did those go? He escaped his potential death from his own family, and then he was sold as a slave, and his life went from bad to worse, essentially. And I don't know how many things I can think of that are lower than, being a slave. It's pretty low. Just when you think that it cannot possibly get worse, it does. And he was then thrown in prison. And years are passing. I will always say passing time is the worst thing I will ever be called to go through. And years are passing, and he is imprisoned, and his life is following in this bad to worse to even worse. And then for me, you know, my dad, we are the closest you could ever imagine, ever, as your own parent who raised you. He lived just a few blocks away from my small bathroom-sized apartment. It's one room, size of the bathroom I was just in. I'd walk to his house. I was the only one that tell him everything. You know, I'd tell him about boys, and he hated it, and I loved that he hated it because I thought it was funny. It was my birthday. And my dad, he looks me right in the eye, and he says, Al, I don't want you as a daughter anymore. I don't want you as a daughter anymore. And he made me pick. And could you choose something over the person you have known your whole life here? Could you have known someone that have loved you and been with you every second of your life? Something tangible, something there, like your dad, over this idea that you just heard about, this concept of a supposed God? Could you choose what you have had and loved your whole life over an idea that you're just learning about? I don't know. I said to my dad, Dad, I'm sorry. I love you. I don't know that this was definitely out of character for him, but I don't know that he thought I wouldn't have chosen him. But when I didn't, I think he was so hurt that he kept his word. Years are passing. And my family, I don't know. And so, what do I do now? Every single one of my friends, all of them, gone. All of them gone. They wanted nothing to do with me and what I was a part of, and it, hurt, obviously. But it hurt to see how easy it was for them to do that and how quickly that they did. And so now what? I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to learn more of this supposed God and trying to navigate, what is the spirit of what? And then what do I have to show for it? No one. I have no one to show for my efforts. Things are bad. Do you know what my answer was? Move to Utah. It's not what I asked for. Thanks, though. I'm gonna move to Utah. I forgot Utah was even a state until I met all these missionaries. What if I reworded my prayer? Maybe I'd get a different answer. Not the case. No, my answer came as a reoccurring thought. A reoccurring thought I figured if I ignored long enough, it would go away. Not the case. Now God had asked me to give up everyone. And now he is asking me to give up everything. The only way of living that I know of. New York, very different than the West. To give up the only way of living, my home, my belongings, to move across the country, and to cope with the idea that maybe I could never see my dad ever again. Well, what if this is it? I don't know. Terrified, I'm driving across the country. But a part of me thought that if this was what God wanted me to do, if this is me following the Spirit, which I think it is, things are going to get better. When I get there, this was my silver lining, right? This is where things would come together and start to make sense and be a little bit more easier. More easier, that's terrible English. It's more easy or easier. You got to pick, but it's not both, okay? English lesson. If I get there, it will be more easy or easier. See what I did? Okay. But I got there only to find out, like Joseph, when doing what God wanted me to do, they only got worse. Things got much more difficult than saying goodbye to my dad. People would look at me and start walking the opposite direction. They would shield their kids from me. Guys my age were looking for temple-worthy girls, which is great. Great idea. You should do it. I don't exactly look temple-worthy. That not only did no guy want to date me, they didn't even speak to me. Now that sucks in general, but I think especially as women to feel unwanted and unnoticed, not good enough. Ever since baptism, I have constantly, even now, heard that I'm either too much of something or not enough of something. And I just, these feelings of loneliness, indescribable. I meant to bring my blankets when I moved across the country, but they somehow did not make it into the car, and so my newfound faith and my perfect being who does not make mistakes dragged me across the country, and now I am sleeping on the floor wrapped in a towel. Great job, Al. And like with Joseph, I'm wondering, what the heck? Where are these promised blessings I heard so much about? You grow up hearing, since membership, you hear about these great blessings, this great life we're supposed to have. Well, guess what? I'm not seeing it. Now, I actually haven't shared that part of my story. I actually don't even share my story when I speak anymore, but I got to, because this is where it started. This was my start. This was your start. This is the start of Joseph, right here. This is the start of it all. And so when I think of my start, I can't help but think of this pattern that I am still 10. Nope. Somewhere along there. If I was baptized, how old am I? Okay, so somewhere
32.
around there. Thanks. It's 2009? We don't care about math. But since then, I am in still the pattern of bad to worse to even worse. I am still consistently being called to go down the unwanted, the unexpected, and the uncharted. And I remember shortly after being in Utah, where everything is new, I'm trying to navigate everything, and I feel like he is silent through it all. And I am wondering where, why, how much longer, when is enough enough? When I think of the apostles waking up Christ, who's sleeping during what seems to be a life-threatening storm. Carest thou not that we perish? We too sometimes find ourselves in this pattern of wondering, where is he? Where is he during the times we feel like we so desperately need him the most? We wonder where relief is. We plead for him to calm our storm because it's as though we may not make it. Or at the very least, we plead for him to wake up, to be mindful, to be conscious during our raging storms that we're in the midst of. I have been in too many raging storms, wondering too many times, wondering if I will be able to make it. Now, right out of the gate, that stuff happened, but like I said, that was just the beginning. I have gone through things 100 times harder than what I told you. And I remember in Utah thinking, I don't like this. I don't like feeling like this. I don't want to live like this. You know, if it is true that my life is going to continue in this pattern of unwanted and unexpected, I got to figure something else out. Because I can't live spending my whole life pleading for things to be over and things to be different. That's not living. I don't want to sit here and pick apart and wish for a rewind button or plead for a fast forward button. That's not living. I'm only here once, and if it is true that if we give it to God, the unwanted and unexpected is going to happen, then I need a plan, because this is not it. I don't like it. I don't want it. And so I decided to go back to when I was, confirmed. I was 20 years old. Now, oftentimes, and I've even fallen victim of this, we wonder if we are feeling the Spirit, or we hope that we would feel it more often. Is that a true statement? When was the last time I felt the Spirit? I don't know. Wish it was more. But if I go back to a physical feeling I had at confirmation at the age of 20 years of contrast of not having it, what if we do not feel it? That was really aggressive, parentheses. What if we don't feel it because it is ingrained in us so seamlessly that we don't even know what it's like to not have it? What if it is working so perfectly and consistently, just like he promised, that we don't even properly attribute it at all? Just like he promised. How beautiful that is to have it work so perfectly that it becomes seamlessly part of our entire being. I think of Lazarus. Lazarus has two sisters. Mary and Martha. Arguably, the three amigos, Mary, Martha, Lazarus, are best friends with Jesus. I make this argument that they're best friends with them because when he would go to Jerusalem, Jesus, he would often spend the night at their house in Bethany. I don't want to use the word sleepover, but one could say that he had sleepovers at their house. So they're close is all I'm trying to say. Maybe best friends, I could argue. And then Lazarus, he's sick. And Jesus, arguably his best friend, he knows about Lazarus being sick, and does he go to see his best friend who's very sick? He doesn't. Now, if I'm Lazarus, which I am, I'm hurt. Where is he? Why is he not here? Twofold. One, as a savior, if he were really here, this wouldn't be happening. He could have took this away. Things should be different if he were here. 2, as a friend. I thought he cared about me. Where is he? Why can he not be here with me? So then what happens to our friend Lazarus? He dies. He's dead. Does Jesus know about this the day he dies? He does. And he actively, consciously chooses not to go. Now, if I'm Martha and Mary, which I am wondering, why? Twofold. As a savior. If he were really here with me, this should not be happening. It didn't have to happen. He could take this from me. And 2, as a friend. I thought he loved me. I wonder, like Joseph, like Lazarus, like Martha, like Mary, like the woman with the blood disease. She spends her entire existence pleading for things to be over, for things to be different, putting everything in and seeing nothing come out. That awful thing called passing time. She's got nothing left. Life and circumstances have literally brought her in the ground, in the dirt, buried under the crowd. Where is Christ? Where is God in all of this? But do we know how that story ends? They're walking in the shoulder-to-shoulder foot traffic. It's a movement in the busy streets of their city. It's like this whole movement. There is no stopping. There are so many people. You can't. It's just like flowing water of people. You just have to keep going, or else people are just gonna knock you down. And Christ stops in this shoulder-to-shoulder crowd, stops in the middle of it, and says, "Who touched me?" Now, there's many reasons why I am not an apostle, but in this situation, the reason why I'm not one is because I would laugh at him. What do you mean? Like everyone is touching you. Are you joking? But Christ, he is a one-by-one Christ. One who stops in the middle of it all. One who comes to us. One who gets on the ground, one who notices us, one who changes and heals even lingering impossibilities. So then what about Lazarus? What about one who allowed something bad to happen? Well, back in the days of Jesus, culture believed that your soul lingered around your body for 3 days after you die. So you're actually not dead until day 4. That's just what they all believed. That was common knowledge. And so who knew that? Jesus. If he would have came any sooner than he did, no one would claim raising him from the dead a miracle. They would say he wasn't dead. I don't know how else to say it. Dead. You get what I'm saying. No one would have called it a miracle. Had he come and prevented death, took it away before it happened, would that mass conversion happened? What would have came out of avoidance and prevention? Nothing. Now this miracle, it was so big that it was this miracle is what started the talks of the Pharisees and the chief priests to say, what do we do? If we leave him thus alone, everyone is going to believe him. It was a miracle so big, it was this that started the motion and the conversations to get rid of him. That is how big the blessing was. Would that have happened from avoidance and prevention? Was that God and Christ sleeping because of neglect or abandonment or lack of love? Or was he sleeping because he knew, regardless of the storm, that all will be well? What about our boy Joseph from the Old Testament? Well, what about him? Well, as we know, he used his God-given gifts. He interpreted the king's dreams, and he became a leader. Did he become a leader over his small little area of his own little family? Or did he save an entire civilization and became the leader of Egypt? Was he? He was reunited with his family, but he was able to bring them to something more. A more abundant life, with more abundant living. Would that have happened through avoidance and prevention? Joseph did in fact become a leader. Everything he was promised was not only fulfilled, but it was magnified. It was in every sense the ultimate magnification. Are we allowing God to be God, I wonder? Am I allowing him the opportunity to show me how great he really is? I was pregnant with my third baby, and I was diagnosed a complicated high risk. There was this on-call doctor at the time. She did not know great English. So in the only way that she knew how, which was very bluntly, she came in to tell me, "You're gonna die." Which was great. Thanks for telling me like that, Judy. I don't know if her name's Judy. I don't even think I know a Judy. Maybe. So I'm dying, I guess. That's a heavy weight. Big dark cloud over everything. And what do you think is this it? This pregnancy alone went from bad to worse to even worse. And so I was scheduled for an emergency surgery to try and, not die. And I go in for an ultrasound the day before, to make sure everything is looking good for surgery to not die. And my doctor, I was probably 8 months pregnant, which was crazy that I even made it that far without a surgery. And he goes and he says, "This is crazy. I have never in my life seen this or even heard about this happening, but you're fine." And I said, what do you mean I'm fine? And he goes, "It's gone." I said, "What? So what?" He said, "Well, I guess just pretend it didn't even happen. Just pretend it didn't even happen." And I said, "Okay, we'll just pretend all the 7 months of trauma didn't happen, I guess." And obviously I leave the appointment and I had the thought of God is good, right? Hated that. I hated that I felt that way and that I audibly said that to myself in my car. Why did I say that? What, because I got what I wanted? Was God only good because I got what I wanted? What did that imply? Was God just not good the other 8 months of my pregnancy? Is God just not good during our whole and prison moments? What does that mean? Is a miracle? What is even a miracle? Is a miracle defined as avoidance and prevention? Is a miracle getting what you want? What does that even imply if I took that same thinking to Christ in his life? What his life of being betrayed and he was abused and he allowed himself to be murdered. What, was it because angels weren't there? Was it because Christ was not deserving of avoidance or prevention? Or is it because God is just not always good? Okay, so when we put it in the light of Christ, that just seems really awkward to even say because we know that that's not true. So why is it that we do not know that that is not true for us? God, he is good, even when our situation is not. He is good because he is awake. He is conscious. He is mindful. He is good because he keeps his promises. He is good because he does not close his eyes, nor does he neglect or abandon, and nor does he play favorites. He is good because he is, like with Joseph, like with Lazarus, like with Martha and Mary, and every single person we can pick out of the scriptures. He is good because he is actively bringing us to something better. This ultimate magnification that does exist in this life. You know, he is good because he is actively bringing us to what's next. He is good because whatever it is that may be, he is there. And he is leading, and he is perfect. What if we got it all backwards? What if every step is the miracle? I do a good job at subconsciously even keeping God at arm's length. It's easy to see this with people in the scriptures because we can see their start to the end, but that's hard for us. We can't see our end like we see people in scriptures. All we may be seeing is us in a hole or us feeling imprisoned. But God's entire existence, the only reason why he is there, it's not for some sick game. It's to bring us to the better and to make us better. So how is it that we can allow God to be God? What if we stop keeping God at arm's length? What if we embrace the unexpected, knowing who is guiding us? What if we see our seasons through? We may be in a hard season right now, sure, yeah, fine. Samesies. But seasons don't last forever. But they do all bring forth new fruit. Are we seeing them? I, through the 20 years of contrast, have to continuously remind myself that all good things are God. And that goes for feelings. Any good feeling is you feeling and experiencing God. You know, I went through such a hard time this past week. One of my bad days, I remember specifically, I laughed. I laughed. That is good. That could not exist if God was not real. Me just laughing during it all, even without anything changing, was me feeling and experiencing God participating in my life. So is he there more than we recognize and attribute? Oh yeah. Is our whole and our prison moments the only way to be brought to the ultimate magnification, blessings so big we didn't even know existed? Yeah. Now, just recently we moved from Arizona back to here. There's 5 of us, me, my husband, and our 3 kids, and a big giant dog. He's big, he's Scooby-Doo. We drive across the country. It's like my 8th time I've done it. I don't know why anyone wants to do it. It's the worst experience of my life. I don't know, it's a bucket list. It's a terrible bucket list item, driving across the country. And we didn't stop. Drove straight through. Didn't get a hotel. Did not sleep for 4 days. And was it 16 states? I don't know. Whatever. Just visualize it. With the 3 kids, we did not get a hotel for 4 days to sleep. So it was great experience. Recommend it to everyone, but don't ever do it. So we lined it up so we can move into our home right when we get there. The home that we bought over the internet, also do not recommend, but we did it. And so we drove across the country during, just quarantine, COVID. Just drive through it all, buying a house over the internet, and then we find out when we get here, we don't have the house. Can't get it. I don't cry. I just don't really do it. Not a thing I do. But it was so bad that I couldn't look at my kids without bursting into tears, because how is it that God has brought me to a spot in my life where I don't have a place to bring my kids? Like, that seems too low. And so I call it houseless, because we ended up going to a hotel room and passing time. Bad to worse to even worse, and weeks are passing, and a month is passing, and nothing has changed. And I just remember thinking how freaky it is to the whole barges thing. Because the brother of Jared in Ether, we know this story, it's about the barges. God is the one that told the brother of Jared to build the barges. And it was, quote, being directed continually by the hand of the Lord, end quote. That is how it goes. So that is step-by-step guidance the entire way of him building these barges. God told him to do it. God helped him out every single step of it. And what happens? Well, he does it. There the barges are. Great job, brother of Jared. Way to go. You did it. Gold star. Cool. But it wasn't until he finished, that he realizes what? Wait, there's no light in them. I can't see. Wait, we can't breathe in this. We can't live in this. Wait, how is that even possible? If I did what God wanted me to do in the way that God showed me how to do it, how did we even get here? Now, you know the brother of Jared is trying really hard to problem solve every logical resolve that he can come up with, and he brings them to the Lord. You know, windows and fire. But those can't work because of these reasons. And he is crying, quote, crying unto the Lord, pleading for things to be different. Wait, I got nothing. I got dead ends. I have no hope, no resolve, nothing left that I can see. And it wasn't until the brother of Jared was crying and trying to work it out with God that, a new avenue came. Now, his response actually was the last thing I would ever want to hear from God. The brother of Jared got a response that I never want to hear from God, which are, mountain waves are going to hit you. Cool, thanks, I'm so excited. There's much to look forward to. Thanks, thank you. But those winds have I sent, and those waves are mine. They're from me. I'm behind it all. And so with him, hope came, resolve came, a new avenue we didn't see before came, light came, literally. And even though it lasted way longer than anticipated, 344 days, but who's counting? Just like I wasn't counting down the days of me in a hotel. It's fine. That through it all, the mountain waves, the wind, being buried in the depths of the sea, were the exact reasons that brought them where they needed to be the entire time. And through it all, the light was always there. So when I am collapsed on the floor, screaming at him in a hotel room, and I am telling him, losing my crap about it in the moment, in front of my kids, because we're in one room, where else are they going to go? So I'm losing it in front of them, and I'm telling him, I can't do this. I got nothing left. My strength, my hope, my faith, my optimism, it's just done. And I'm telling him this. I felt like I was left out to dry. And do you know what he said to me? While I don't have a home to live in, he says, why won't you let me?
She wants me to get a picture with him.
Why won't you let me take you somewhere better? It's why I exist. So can we embrace the unexpected, knowing who is guiding us? a little better? Can we see our seasons through? Can we allow ourselves to participate in something greater than we even knew existed? Maybe here and now we can notice him in more ways. Seeing all the good and the light that is there, regardless of it all. Knowing that we are in motion to the best fit blessings that could not have come otherwise. What if every step is the miracle? What if it not working out is it working out because of the fruits that would not have come otherwise? Because of the unexpected or longer than anticipated path that bring us to the most vibrant way of life. Because it is true that my favorite things to ever exist have stemmed from me pleading for him, wondering where he was. It was every time I was wondering where he was that has brought me to everything I have now. And I couldn't imagine life any different. Everything we are working towards is not all in our heads. Our efforts and our faith are not in vain. Your prayers have been heard, but greater is what he has in store for you. All of those promises and blessings we hear so often about, every single one of them are written in past tense in the scriptures. Prepared. Already there. Heavenly Father has already spent the time, the love, the work, the effort into preparing the absolute best ever created, and you can have it. If we could just keep going and tell the adversary to shut it. You know, he's got this pattern of skewing perspective. Like Peter walking on the water, he gets us to be blinded by everything we're doing wrong. To focus on our worst God has ever seen kind of efforts. But guess what? Peter's the only one that got out of the boat. That's a different perspective. That's the one we need. Peter is the only one who tried, who did something. He is the only one who got closer to Christ through it all. And you know what? Christ was the one that told him to get on that boat in the first place. He, who even the winds obey, could have stopped that storm at any second, but did not until he was back on the boat. So what if it's not even about walking on water? What if it's about going to him during the storm? What if it's about focusing on taking one step, even if that step seems small? Everything you have heard about, everything you have been promised and that you are working towards, you are deserving of everything beautiful and vibrant and blossoming in this life. Because your only qualifying factor you need to all of that, you already have, and you cannot get rid of it. You're his. That's it. You are deserving of everything beautiful and blossoming simply because you are his, and that cannot change. So everything else is just noise. So enjoy living, friend. Everything good is here just for you. In the name of Jesus Christ, my best friend. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Wow, thank you so much. So incredible.
I don't even know what time it is. We just guessed.
Perfect.
Okay.
Perfect timing.